First step of any solving problem is to make sure that the equation's equal to 0, which we already have. And then the second step is to factor out our greatest common factor, in this case 5x, which leaves us with x cubed minus 8. Now x cubed minus 8 is a perfect cube, so I need to identify the a value, which is the cube root of x cubed, which is 8, or x. And then my b value is the cube root of the 8. Cube root of 8 is just 2. So I'm going to bring down my greatest common factor again. And then we'll go ahead and factor the perfect cube. Remember, it starts with a minus b in this case because our original sign is a minus sign. So you stick with the original. Then you go a squared, so x squared. Now we'll switch the sign to plus a times b, which would be 2x. And then plus, because it's always positive, the b squared, which is 4. 2 squared is 4. And all of this equals 0. At this point, we have factored as far as we can, so we just need to find every 0 for this problem. Because it's to the 4th power, I need to have 4 zeros total. So I'm going to go everywhere where I see an x. So for the 5x, if I set that equal to 0, and you divide both sides by 5, you get x is equal to 0. So that's one of our 4 solutions. X minus 2, if I set that equal to 0, and I add 2 to the other side. Oops, let me write that down. So I'll add 2. Then we get x equals positive 2 for another 0. So we have 2 more to go. And the last 2 come from this one right here, which is going to require probably the most work because we have to use quadratic formula. So just as a reminder, your a for quadratic formula is the very first coefficient, b is the 2 in this case, and c is the 4 in this problem. So a, b, and c. So I'll do x equals negative b, so negative 2, plus or minus b squared, so in this case 2 squared is 4, minus 4 times our a value, which is 1, times our c value, which is 4. All of that goes over 2 times our a value, which is 1. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and figure out what's under the square root. So 4 minus 4 times 1 times 4 is negative 12. And then we have that over 2. And then we need to simplify the square root of 12. So we've got negative 2 plus or minus. Square root of 12, just as a reminder, you can either use factor tree to figure this out. 12 is 4 and 3. 4 is a perfect square that splits to 2 and 2. So this will simplify down to 2 root 3. Or you can also use a calculator that simplifies it for you. Now, because of the negative underneath, though, we're going to put an I with this. So we 2i root 3. I have run out of room, so I'm going to actually move that to over here. So we've got x equals negative 2 plus or minus 2i root 3. All of that's over 2. Last step is I'm going to divide each term by that 2. I'm going to split it up so you can see why I'm doing what I'm doing. So negative 2 divided by negative 2, or negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. And then 2i root 3 over 2 is I root 3. And those are your last 2 solutions for x. So that gives us 1, 2, and 3, 4 solutions since there's that plus or minus.